You are listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple Podcasts and other podcast platforms. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Today we're going to talk about safety in CPTSD, the importance of feeling safe. It is a very, very important thing when it comes to any kind of trauma, CPTSD or PTSD, which is a more common trauma-related disability that we all face. And the thing that we need to understand when it comes to safety is, in order for a person who has, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, is we need to feel safe in order for the ability to heal and to take step by step in order to get closer to feeling better and feeling healed within our system and with ourselves. And when you're in a situation, whether it is a relationship or you're in a job or you're in a work environment that makes you feel unsafe, and you'd have a trauma-related disorder, it's very difficult to do your job or be in the relationship or have friends that you hang out with on a regular basis if you don't feel safe, because you are at much greater risk, or you have a risk of always feeling triggers and having flashbacks into trauma from your past. And it is, without that sense of safety, life is nearly impossible to control and to be able to do properly, because you can't do your job, you can't be in a relationship, or you can't do daily activities and take care of yourself if you're always under a sense of fear and you're always having triggers due to past traumatic events, and you're feeling triggers all the time. You need to feel safe in order to have any ability to restore and to have a healing, to heal your system. I'm going to read some information here that I feel is very helpful, and I hope that you will be able to take a lot out of this or from this, and maybe it'll make you feel a better sense of what it takes for you to feel safe, what kind of steps you need to gain that feeling and that ability to have that sense of safety. Okay, experiencing a traumatic event can be one of the most life-changing or life-shattering things we go through. Any event that triggers a fight, flight, freeze response has the potential to flip our lives upside down. Excuse me. When a single event is exponentially increased, along with repeatedly feeling fight, flight, freeze, you can find yourself at risk for developing complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD. There has been long-standing controversy surrounding CPTSD since Dr. Judith Lewis Herman first proposed it in her clinical research at Harvard in 1988. As of today, the DMSV does not officially recognize CPTSD as a separate or unique disorder from PTSD because of its overlapping behavioral symptoms with borderline personality disorder. However, the ICD-11, which is scheduled to launch in January 2022, does recognize the disorder and is said to be included in its newest edition. Granted, while there are shared behaviors among BPD and CPTSD, which can include several severe trust issues and an inability to feel safe, there are several distinct differences separating the two disorders. For example, Those with BPD commonly report experiencing frantic efforts to avoid abandonment, unstable relationships, a limited self-identity, and impulse behaviors, of which are not commonly reported in those with CPTSD. More common to those symptoms of CPTSD are avoidance behaviors, such as avoiding relationships and intimacy. These are often seen as threatening and increase a sense of feeling unsafe. When our sense of safety fails, life has an insidious way of lulling us into a false sense of security and then pulling the rug out from under us when we least expect it. In a moment's notice, a kid can go from trusting their mom or dad to running and hiding out of survival mode. When a child's basic need for safety is violated or was never provided for them, they learn that monsters are real. They can't run from the monster under the bed or in the closet because they live with them. Many times there's no one for a child to reach out to for help, so they learn to fend off the monsters by themselves. When a sense of safety goes sideways in childhood, we become stuck on that rung of hierarchical ladder. We can't advance. No collecting 200. We can't trust others or ourselves. We question our intuition. We doubt our instincts. We call bullshit on them. We never feel safe. We live in a perpetual state of anxiety, and we learn to believe that everyone has an agenda. Because trust issues can start in childhood from abusive, negligent, and inconsistent environments, when a sense of trust is shattered, so is safety. We can't be expected to feel safe anywhere if we can't trust a situation or the people in it. Fast forward into adolescence, and that same abused kid may now be angry, volatile, may avoid socializing, or may choose to run with the wrong crowd. Continue fast forwarding into adulthood, and survival mode becomes exhausting. We may turn to self-medicating, self-sabotaging, or continue fending off the monsters from our past in order to feel safe, yet never feeling any safer. Some may look for someone to save them, others may throw in the towel and revert to isolation. Because it's safe. So, how can we learn to authentically feel safe again after trauma? Rebuilding our sense of safety. A sense of safety has to begin with being able to trust ourselves as safe. One thing we tend to do is look outward at others to fix us or protect us. The irony is that those who've suffered extensive or prolonged trauma tend to do one of two things: either avoid everyone as unsafe, which causes further isolation, or we turn to those who prove toxic and untrustworthy, which causes further isolation. See the conundrum? Learning how to identify feeling safe while purging feeling threatened or unsafe is a process, often defined by stages or steps. It can happen immediately, and it doesn't happen quickly. If we've experienced a prolonged threat to our sense of safety, we have to rewind back to the first events that triggered us feeling unsafe, and then take small steps forward from there. For example, if our baseline is a constant fight, flight, freeze feeling, we're starting at ground zero. We may not know what safety even feels like, let alone how to move to that space of feeling safe. We have to honor our starting point and allow ourselves time to grow as we heal. Time alone. While time alone after trauma is necessary to begin healing, we can't live there. It can become too comfortable pushing others away and living inside the walls of our self-imposed box because it's safe. Unfortunately, avoiding life doesn't help us heal. It perpetuates the effects of trauma because isolation feels off of itself. The more we isolate out of a need to feel safe, the further down the rabbit hole we go in isolation. Establish a daily routine. There's safety and predictability in a routine, as long as the routine is healthy and promoting growth. For those who've experienced severe trauma, a daily routine is necessary to help us relearn who we are and who we were pre-trauma, so we can get back to being that person. Notice your morning routine, your daily habits, what makes you smile. Notice how you react when your cell rings, when your significant other calls you, or when a friend wants to meet up. Notice how you feel if you divert off of your routine one day. Do you feel anxious? Do you feel unsafe? How do you redirect yourself back to feeling safe again? Embrace these things about yourself and journal your thoughts and feelings as you go. Be selective. It's okay to be selective on who you give your time and energy to, especially when you're actively healing. When we're focusing on learning a sense of safety, we can become hypervigilant on those who we let in and who we dismiss, because having a sense of safety includes boundaries. If we haven't had solid boundaries before, now is where we typically establish firm ones. As we become more comfortable with self-trust, we become more comfortable in making healthier choices for ourselves and conquering our chosen boundaries. Red flags are no longer red flags, they're deal breakers. Have a support group. This often means a combination of group therapy, individual therapy, and trusted family or friends. When we're healing from trauma and desperate to feel safe again, or maybe for the first time ever, it's important, even necessary, that we have a secure base. This may be a sibling, an old teacher we felt comfortable around, a mentor at school, a significant other, or a friend. Trauma support groups and individual therapy can also be an excellent resource for helping a person move past traumatic fears and emotional triggers, and to help provide insight on identifying safe and unsafe situations from a more objective viewpoint. All right, so let's discuss some of that right now. When we're feeling the trauma, whether it is it doesn't really matter what really we're feeling, whether it's physical abuse, mental abuse, neglect, emotional abuse. All of it is going to, especially when it's over a repeated time, as complex CPTSD is, it really takes away our feeling of being safe. Like we're not going to feel safe when we're around that person or people who are repeatedly mistreating us, verbally being abusive, hitting you, neglecting you, not giving you what is required for you to able to survive, especially if when you're a child, you don't have the ability to take care of yourself, which is the normal way things are when we are children, is that we rely on a parent or parents or a guardian of some sort to look after us so that we can have food, have shelter, get proper sleep, get exercise, and be social. And clearly without all of that, you're going to have that sensation that this is not a safe environment to be in. And in order to gain that sense of safety, you have to protect yourself. You have to do things and act a certain way in order to maintain that. And eventually, and a lot of people hopefully at one point will get away from the abusive person or partner or group, and they don't necessarily heal because, well, they actually don't heal because they're going on with their life, and the triggers that come up throughout day-to-day life or significant events, they don't always necessarily appear right away. And then there's a significant situation in your life down the road where suddenly that event triggers you into feeling that flashback of your trauma, and you again are not feeling in a safe environment. So you feel scared, you're feeling that severe trauma, that flashback that makes you feel in danger. And if your child parts come online, then they're obviously they're coming online to try and protect you, to keep you from being in harm and keep you out of danger. But the problem, unfortunately, is that if you allow your parts if you become triggered with your parts and the adult is blended with these parts, it affects your ability to live a life that is, happy and productive, and like in a work in a professional manner, being able to maintain a successful work life. Because if you're in a situation that causes, like, if work-wise, if you're in a location or you're in a job that has triggers and causes you to experience these flashbacks to your trauma from your past, it's gonna soon make it very difficult, if not impossible, to maintain the ability to do your work. And if nothing is taken care of, nothing is done about it, and you don't get any help, you're gonna probably end up losing your job, because you just can't mentally put in the effort and the energy and the emotion to be any good at your job. And there's a good chance that you're probably going to end up having to take time away, either temporarily or maybe even permanently, if you're unable to make any progress and heal your system, so that when you do go back to working, at some point, hopefully you won't have those triggers and re-experience the flashbacks, and once again have it get in the way of being able to do your job properly. So you end up having to take time off in order to deal with that, because you're not safe. You don't feel, as an adult or as your child parts, you don't feel safe in that kind of a situation. And you, like I've said already, you need that safety, that feeling of safety, in order to be able to live your life in a way that is productive, is successful, and that you can have a meaningful relationship or a meaningful job and get benefit out of it. If you don't have that safety, it's very difficult to do that. And I do know from personal experience, like both in past relationships and in work environment, I have been in situations where I didn't feel safe at all. I didn't know at that time that I was dealing with a complex post-traumatic stress disorder trigger. I didn't really have any way of identifying it, other than I felt in danger or I felt scared. And so it was preventing me from being able to even stay there, or to be able to do the work without getting triggered and getting scared and, wanting to just run away from the job and leave it forever. When it came to, like, my relationship, instead of running, I did whatever I could to, like, bargaining, right? Like, the fight, flight, freeze. There's also the fawn, the 4 F's when it comes to that. I was basically doing or acting in a certain way, and changing my behavior to hopefully at all costs avoid the behavior from my partner, to eliminate or hopefully avoid getting triggered and experiencing my flashback to the trauma. And I wanted to feel safe. So it's almost like I was not being authentic and not being real to myself or to my partner in the past, so that I could maintain the relationship. But a lot of that was due to a real poor level of self-confidence and not believing that I deserved any better. My thoughts were that I didn't think I was going to get anything or be with someone who would be better for me, or that I deserved anything better. So it was like I had made a decision as a person, as a whole, that I would allow myself to be manipulated in a way that was beneficial, even though it was very harmful. When you actually look at it, it was harmful to me, to my system, and it would end up really damaging my ability to have relationships or start or get involved or even try to be in a relationship because of the fact that every time I would try or I would, want to look at dating somebody or even meeting a woman like at a bar or something, multiple things would occur, right? Like I would be overcompensating for my lack of self-confidence. So like I said, end up talking way too much or doing behaviors that was not appropriate. Like, I mean, like interrupting, saying things that were childish. Like unknowingly I was doing this. I didn't really know that I was being childish at the moment, but there were a number of things that I would say or behaviors or actions that I would take that would turn off or turn away that person, and they really wouldn't want anything to do with me. But I was doing this out of a sense of safety. I was trying to feel safe in the environment because there was a lot of potential triggers that could come from there. Like there was anxiety triggers. I was always getting nervous. I would be afraid of making errors, making mistakes. So I would overthink stuff and overthink my actions. And instead of saying something that could be taken as genuine or authentic, it's like I was faking it, or I was over talking and sound like someone who never listens, and it's just all about yourself, all about me, about, not about the person that I was sitting across from. Of course, that's the problem, is that you're trying to make yourself feel safe and avoid getting any triggers like from your experience, but at the same time I was damaging any kind of potential future relationship or friendship in that matter. And I ended up doing that. I remember in past jobs that I had in my past, there were times that my behavior or my actions were deemed to be the incorrect action or an inappropriate way of doing something work related, but it was my own avoidance to make myself feel safe and secure that I was unknowingly causing harm to my career or to my future because of those behaviors. So it's a delicate and very complex situation. And without the proper help from a therapist and doing the work and processing with your system, it can be very difficult, if not impossible, to both feel safe but make the correct and the right choices for yourself. And a lot of that is getting your parts to trust you, like doing the processing, learning about the parts that you have with you, and understanding who they are, what they're about, and then over time getting to them, earning their trust, so that in the future you can at some point feel safe, but also behave as an adult and say adult-like things and make adult-like choices and not mess up something that is potentially really amazing, or that can be amazing, whether in any way of life. If you can get your parts to trust you, then you're in a much better position than if you don't realize that you're having this trauma and you avoid and do things in a certain way to avoid it, and causing problems on the other side. Quite complex, and it's not a good thing if you don't have the proper help, you can't really make any progress, and you're going to end up just making the same mistakes over and over. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, so continuing on with the help. Word and deed, feeling safe around others, especially if we've been betrayed or abused, is not going to come easy, and nor should it. There are people out there who will pretend they care about us or love us only as a challenge to their ego. The harder our trust is to gain, the more of a challenge we can become. If we've taken time to focus on ourselves and on recognizing what makes us feel safe, the people we choose to have in our lives will also change. Challenges aren't accepted. Agendas are seen through. What identifies trust and safety to us now includes not only what a person is saying, but that their actions are consistent as well. Self-soothing. One of the most important things a person can do to help empower themselves and regain a sense of safety is to learn self-soothing tools. In a video by the National Institute for the Clinical Application of Behavior Medicine, NICABM, Dr. Peter Levine teaches 2 very simple techniques that anyone can do. This is on YouTube. Obviously, there's no point in playing it right here because you might not be able to hear it. But if you are interested in the video, this is online. You can look up Peter Levine on YouTube and you can watch this video. I'll put a link in the description of the video. Okay, because consistency is key, doing these type of self-soothing skills can help build a sense of safety, especially if feeling threatened or triggered. Other common skills include the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is based on grounding techniques. We've actually discussed that in the past. It's basically doing like the 5 senses where you can you choose 5 colors to find, like for the visual, then the 4 senses of sound, the 3 senses of touch, the 2 senses of or smell, which whatever works best for you. So it's the same method. So it's your grounding techniques. Okay, when feeling unsafe, look to your immediate environment for 5 things you can see and label them out loud. 4 things you can touch and touch them while labeling them out loud. See, exactly. And so on. It's learning to feel safe after trauma is learning to thrive after having lived on survival mode for so long, or for too long. Yes. This is one of those things that if you're not equipped well with the proper tools and the means to help yourself when you are feeling triggered, it's very difficult to work your way past them. And knowing the signs of your triggers and knowing how it works and how they appear is definitely very helpful, because then it allows you to, when you are feeling the signs, like the senses that are in your body, or you're noticing those physical signs or the mental signs that you are having a trigger and you're becoming blended with your system. If you have the correct and the right tools to use, it can be a lot easier for you to stop yourself, become unblended with that part or parts, and then do the 4-step process so that you can identify with that part, find out exactly feel the emotions that they are expressing and what they're feeling, so that you can connect with them, build that neural connection and pathway in your mind. And then you're listening to the part and you're getting the information. You're basically hearing what they're feeling. They're going to tell you, if they are trusting you, they're going to tell you how they feel. They're going to explain who they are. Like if you haven't established any kind of identification or identity with that part, they're gonna hopefully they'll tell you who they are, what their trauma is, what they're from, where they were born. And then if you do the work and you do it right and you are consistent with it, you will be able to get the opportunity to update that part and show them that you appreciate and you're thankful for what they're doing for you, that they're protecting you, but you're also going to you want them so that in the next time like I've discussed before, the next time is that you do happen to get a trigger and you feel those flashbacks, that you're going to have a much better opportunity to come out of it quicker and be able to update them faster and heal, like a better chance of healing and moving forward in your progress to a better, happier, safer life. And the key to being able to do that successfully, I think there's a number of things that are definitely important when it comes to this, but safety is definitely one of the highest requisites in order for this to be successful. Because if you feel safe, whether it's in the environment you're in, your workplace, if you're in a relationship and you feel safe and you have that experience of safety and trust with that person, you have the ability and you have that chance and the opportunity to work with your system and do the updating and gain their trust more, and eventually get those neural pathways, those connections built more and more, so that eventually at some point it'll be like you are one again. And whenever you do have that flashback to your trauma, you'll be able to stay as the adult and be able to work through it, and then to untrigger, to unblend yourself or to work through that trigger so that you can feel safe and not put yourself in harm's way, or not, gain that feeling of safety again, which is obviously very difficult when you're not in a safe mode or a safe location or around people who are unsafe. When it comes to how I feel safe, it's difficult if you haven't done a lot of work and you may be seeing a therapist every 2 weeks, and especially if you are new into it, it can be difficult to build that sense of safety. You really have to work hard to gain that feeling at first, and then when you move on and you are starting to grow and you're gaining like safety experience and your parts are learning to trust you, you will find it easier to find that space or that sense of safety. Like myself, the fact that I have such a hard time trusting people, I always have this, I always seem to, like, my parts are always seeming to be highly triggered, or it takes very little to trigger them. And there is always a sense of skepticism with anyone, even when I feel like I go out and I meet up with some friends or one friend or maybe a group. Even if I have a sense of safety, like I feel safe, it never really seems to be 100%. Like it may be like 70%, 80% of feeling safety, but there's always a part. Like I'm not necessarily blended with the part. There could be a trigger, and I'm not completely aware that I am triggered. So there's always, or seem to always be, a sense of skepticism, being wary, being always questioning what the person would be thinking, or how their actions, their movements. It would take very little for something to cause the trigger and to not feel totally safe. And in certain locations, like there are a lot of locations that I go to that I have gone to in the past, where you don't know right away when you are approaching it. If it's like someone like me who doesn't have a lot of experience when it comes to recognizing my triggers and being aware and learning to unblend from them, or from my parts, excuse me, I don't necessarily know or I haven't in the past known that the location that I'm going to, or the group I'm going to be with, is going to cause me to become triggered and have a flashback. And to getting to the root cause of it is definitely the main goal, but it's so difficult when you don't have a lot of experience with this, or knowing how to take care of it properly, like how to work with your system in an efficient way that is quick, and especially if your parts don't trust you, it's extremely difficult. So anyway, I remember going out with friends, and the idea was to go out to a nightclub. I didn't do this very often, clearly, but there have been a few times where I would go with my friends, or a friend or two, to like a bar where there was music and dancing in a nightclub type of atmosphere. And when I got there, it was like subtle at first, because my system and the way I am, I like look around. I'm like looking at everything, watching everything. My eye is on all that I can see and find, and I have a very difficult time kind of focusing on what's going on with me and with my friends. So instead of enjoying the time spent with my friend or friends, I would be like hyper vigilant with everything. I would be all over the place. My eyes would be everywhere. The sounds that I'd be hearing would always be distracting me. I'd always be getting carried off with what was happening. Sudden noises would definitely be very agitating. So I could get triggered by stuff like that. The environment just, to me, never felt safe. There was never a sense of proper safety where I could feel, safe with myself and safe with my friends. And because I also didn't want to like disappoint my friends or make them think that I was like socially inadequate or not wanting to be social at all, I would more often than not fake my way through it and try to pretend, although I don't think I was exactly the best when it came to faking it and saying, doing the right actions and behaviors to make myself look like I was enjoying myself. There's a really good example. In 2006, I was with this girl. We weren't dating or anything. We were just friends. We were hanging out, and she was newly into a new relationship with this gentleman. And we went to a bar on the west side of the city. And I just remember I walked in, and immediately I felt very uncomfortable. Physically, mentally, I just wasn't enjoying myself. And I remember sitting at the table while the two of them were on the floor dancing, drinking my drink, and all I could think about was, this just doesn't feel right. I don't like this. This is completely awkward, and this is triggering. And I didn't know triggering back then, of course, but that's basically the sensation and the feeling that I was getting. And I think I sat there for 20 minutes. I don't know for sure, but I got so disturbed and so triggered by the environment and the situation that I was in that I got up and left. I didn't say anything to anybody. Like I didn't go up to them and say, I don't feel good about this, I need to go. I just freaked out, and I literally got up and went. I went out the door, got into my car. I remember just feeling really strange and really just not myself. Clearly, I was in a triggered state. And I went home. And I am sure that the two of them were probably really kind of wondering what the hell happened to me. And I don't remember the details. I can't remember if I said anything to them or if there was any discussion after or whatever. But I had no sense of safety. I felt in a very strange and scary location, and I was mentally just not feeling safe whatsoever. And I did take care of it. I know I wasn't, like, because I was blended and I was triggered. Unknown to me, the child parts that were triggered at the time don't know the proper social etiquette. That, if you're feeling uncomfortable, make sure you go tell them. Tell your friends that you're not feeling right, that you want to go home, this isn't working. That's the proper thing that you should do. But because I was triggered with the part, I didn't behave in an adult way. Instead, I was a scared child, and I walked out the door in order to get relief and to feel normal, to feel whole, to be safe again. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I have done a number of times, where instead of feeling as the adult and saying to someone or to whoever I'm with, this doesn't feel right, I'm feeling, I don't think I'm going to say to someone I'm feeling triggered. I would say to them, I don't feel good, this place is giving me the creeps or something, or and I would ask if I could go or go outside, take a walk, maybe take a break. And I'm sure that they would understand. But because I didn't have any kind of relationship or any trust with my system back then, the child part took over completely and deserted them instead of letting them know. Today, I think, if I was, first off, I don't think I'd put myself in a situation like that to begin with, because I know too well now in my later years that something like that is not something that I enjoy. I can't pretend to go into a loud nightclub or somewhere that feels really uncomfortable and pretend to walk and to go through it and put myself through this torture and uncomfortable feeling, and that feeling of not being safe. I would just not go. But in today's world, if I went to a location and I didn't know, like I had no idea that it was going to be a location that would make me feel unsafe, I would be a lot more likely capable of telling the people I'm with that this doesn't feel good, that I'm not enjoying myself, and that I'd like to go, or I'd like to take a break, or something that would be an adult response that would be adequate for them, so that they wouldn't feel like I'm just abandoning them or being rude or a jerk or something and just taking off. I would more than likely take the correct steps and course of action, so that they would understand that I'm not feeling right. This doesn't feel good to me. And then they would be accepting of it. You would certainly hope that your friends would be accepting of a decision like this and wouldn't hold anything like that against you or make you feel bad or resent the fact that you didn't want to be there. But that's not something that you should worry about. If your friends are going to behave that way, clearly they're not really friends, because a true friend would understand and would be compassionate and show you support and say, okay, that's not a problem. I get that this isn't a place that you really feel comfortable at. That's okay. And they would help you. They would they would try to help comfort you, or they would say, okay, I understand, let's go somewhere else. Or maybe one of them would come and go on a walk with you to help keep you calm or to keep you feel safe. That's an important thing. And I do have friends like that. There are definitely a number, I think it's like 3 or 4 really, really good friends that if something like that did happen, I feel completely safe to trust them and to be able to tell them that I'm not feeling comfortable in this situation and that I would like to go, or I'd like to find an alternative way to hang out with them. They would do it. And I feel safe with them. I don't feel a sense of triggers. Like, there's no guarantee. Something uncontrollable may trigger me for some reason when it occurs, but at least I feel safe in the environment and safe with the people that I'm with. I feel like, for the most part, 99% of the time, I do feel safe in my relationship. You know, like I don't feel in danger because of her. I don't get scared and run off. Like, there are situations due to my CPTSD and due to my ADHD that does cause grief and frustration and anger, and I get my anxiety does act up a lot. My anxiety part does come online, and I get blended with it. But when I'm the adult and I'm in an adult situation, I do feel safe. I feel comfortable, and I trust her with my life and with everything. I have things that I need to work on in order to, more often than not have that triggered feeling and that triggered experience that I get. And so that I can feel even more safe around or with her doing things and activities, and not feel scared because of a trigger or an external environment or an event or a flashback from a past relationship or past situation that can cause it. I don't want, nobody wants to obviously feel that. And the only way to successfully get better is to do the work, processing with that part. I do the work. I admit that I'm not necessarily doing as much work as I can, but I am looking for different ways of getting help for it. I did do a session. Actually, the show that I was on, the self-sabotaging sagas with Janaea Barnes, I actually did do a session with her and talked about my anxiety part with her, and we went through a couple hours of some work just to get an experience of what she does, and it showed me a lot. Like, it really gave me a better and much clearer understanding of exactly what of this anxiety part. And as a matter of fact, this is going to be really cool for me. This is going to be done after the recording, because I am recording this earlier, as you are aware. But I have a hypnotherapy session with a woman from Medicine Hat, Alberta, which is about 5 or so hours south of where I live. And it's going to be a very different experience. I've never been hypnotized before, definitely not for a therapy session to help. But I am doing this for the benefit of my health, my system, and I'm also doing this to benefit my relationship. I want to feel better. I want to feel healing, and I want to have better relationship and a better trust with my system, especially with this anxiety part. I want to be able to, at some point, have enough trust with this part that I'll be able to know when I'm feeling the trigger, when I'm feeling this anxiety, that I'll be able to be the one in control and not get triggered to the point where my behavior is childlike and is inappropriate and is potentially damaging. I want to be able to get to a point where I can be the adult in this in every sort of situation that could be potentially unsafe for me. And doing the hypnotherapy is going to be a step in the right direction to feeling safer. Even if I do feel anxiety, I will feel safe enough to be honest, to be true, to know the steps that I need to take in order to not be triggered. Or at least if I do get triggered, I'll be able to stop myself and step away and do the work, like, ground and unblend from this part and do and listen to it and update and hopefully update it so that the occurrences will be less and less and a lot less damaging for me or stressful and triggering, so that in the future hopefully I won't have to really be too concerned if I do get triggered due to an anxiety issue. Like, that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to be the adult and to feel safe and to feel confident and content in my life and in my body, both mentally and physically, so that I can be happy and be successful and feel that I am loved and that I am safe in my environment. That is important to me. I really don't want to continue living a life where anxiety controls my abilities to do the right thing or to make decisions, and to have a child part being online and being triggered, making and having the adult blended with that part and making childish like decisions that are very harmful, and heck, even making my partner feel unsafe. That's the last thing that I would want, and I know that anybody else would want the same thing. So yeah, like these are ways to help, like going to a therapist is the best way and the most reliable way to get, on the track to healing. And then finding alternative means, like additional help is always good. There's nothing wrong with going and finding more ways of working with your system, doing the work, processing on a regular basis, truly listening to your parts and gaining their trust, and learning about who they are and why they're here to protect you and the benefit of what your part has done for you your entire life. All these steps lead towards eventual healing and feeling safer, more safe in your life and in where you are, who you're with. And one day, hopefully, you'll be able to, have a really happy, safe, and just feeling good and not worrying, not having to deal with flashbacks and having child parts come online. Being in control and being the one that's doing the talking and making decisions in your life is going to be much better than having a child part be blended with the adult and having childlike behaviors and decisions being made in your life. You don't want that. Nobody really wants to have that ultimately. All right. I guess that is it for today, for this episode. That was a lot. It's been a while since I've made a bit of a longer episode. I have to say, I am looking forward to the hypnotherapy. It will already have been done by the time this episode has released or is published to the public. If you have any questions regarding it, or if you are curious about the hypnotherapy, you can ask me. You could also look it up online. There's plenty of different therapists out there that are available for this kind of procedure if something you'd seriously want to look into. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I think it's going to be of great benefit to me to help make my life feel safer and heal my system, or towards healing my system, I should say. It's going to be fun. I will give you a bit of an update in the next episode next week to let you know how it went and maybe do a bit of a run through of it. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I don't know exactly how it's going to go, and for all I know, it might not be something that I'm willing to discuss with the public, but I might discuss it briefly just to let you know how the experience was for me. I've never been hypnotized before, just so you know. It is making me nervous, but I am definitely excited for it. Okay, I'm on Twitter at ADHD and CPTSD. Please give me a shout. Come and follow me. I love talking about things. I am open to discussing whatever you feel like. Honestly, my website is www.livingwithadhdandcptsd.ca. I have my Facebook page. You can find me on there. Same name. I am on Patreon, so if you want to support me, you can subscribe, and I have a lot of interesting things on Patreon that you could find. If you want to check out the Sabotaging Sagas episode that I did with Janaea Barnes, it is on my YouTube page. It's obviously Living with ADHD and CPTSD on YouTube. The video is there. It was about an hour long, and it's really interesting. You get another perspective from a different person who has also dealt with trauma and their experiences and how they deal with it and how they help their parts and their system. And you get a chance to see me on camera, which is really cool. Speaking of YouTube, I'm just about ready. I have actually got a few ideas as far as what my format is going to be on YouTube. The idea I'm looking at is talking with other people on YouTube and other podcasters about CPTSD with them and their life experiences, how they deal with CPTSD, the processing they do, their own unique challenges, and how they help their system. I'm hoping to do that. I don't know how often it will occur. I'm going to try for maybe one episode a week, maybe two. Every other week, and I really hope this will be an exciting venture. I'm really looking forward to it, and I just need to get it set up so that it works well for everybody involved. So looking forward to that. I hope you will be too. Yeah, that's all for today, guys and gals. This is going to be out on New Year's Day, so I hope you all have a very happy and safe 2022, and hopefully this pandemic ends soon so we can start getting back to normal life like it was back in 2019. It's hard to believe that it's been that long. Okay, everybody, have a great week, and I shall talk to you later. Bye.